All right, I want to start off by giving all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakak Wadash. I want to give double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone for teaching us this truth. And I want to say shalom to the brothers and sisters that are in this truth. Shalom. All right, man, so we're back with another lesson. And this one's just going to be a World War III, right, update, okay? This is a World War III update. You know, I got these two articles that I'm going to read, you know, and I'll bring out a few prophecies according to the scriptures, you know, that are lining up with the times that we're in, you know, concerning Iran, as you see in the title, Russia, all right, Babylon, which they called United States, right? This is all according to prophecy. Okay, things are escalating, all right, and it's showing, right, it's showing who the true prophets are, okay, starting with Apostle Tahar, right, from GMS, Apostle Ramla, Apostle Gabar, right, Apostle Rakar, the elders, right, those that got the 100% truth, okay, there ain't nobody else was bringing this out. Okay, and they've been doing it for decades, right? And the vision is coming to pass, right? As the scripture says. And let's get that real quick. Ezekiel, right, 33, and verse 33, it says, "And when this cometh to pass, lo, it will come. Then shall they know that a prophet has been among them." Right? So you see, these things have been spoken about, right? Like I said, from the apostles, you know, we see the vision through the Holy Spirit that the Lord has allowed us to receive, okay? And these things are coming to pass, all right? Rumors of wars, okay? The sound of battle is in the land, as it says in the book of Jeremiah chapter 50, all right? And we're here to report on it, okay? So this is a World War III update, right? And this article was put up on our camp chat, right, by our brother Shakal, right? And as you see the title, it reads, "Iran and Russia join forces," okay, as U.S. escalates firepower in the Middle East. All right. And then another thing that comes to mind, okay, you know, with these small hats, is that was also according to prophecy. Matter of fact, let me grab that real quick as well. Okay? So when you go to the book of Jeremiah, all right, chapter 49 and verse 20. Salaki, I needed a drink. Right, it reads, "Therefore hear the counsel of the Lord that he has taken against Edom," right, so-called white man, Amalek being the head tribe, which they call themselves the JWOs, right, out there in that land. "And his purposes that he has purposed against the inhabitants of Teman." Okay? "Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out." And who's the least of the flock? That's them, right? Amalek. Okay? "Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them." Okay? Because at the end of the day, the land of Israel has to be cleansed, right, by those gutter rats, from those gutter rats. Salakia. Those gutter rats got to be cleansed out of there, okay, in order for us to go back, right? And America is going to be destroyed, right, in order to bring salvation, okay, and bring in righteousness, all right? And remember that the Lord said, all right, that he was going to war with Amalek from generation to generation, okay, when he told Moses and Joshua that, okay? Going back to the book of Exodus, right? So you see that these prophecies are coming to pass, all right? And the tension is rising, all right? And, you know, we always say we're waiting for that sea hip to come, right? Because that's when all hell's going to break loose right after that, okay? That's going to be Jacob's trouble in full effect, right? And we know that it's going to cause a domino effect after that, according to the prophecies, right? Because after that, the civil wars, the civil unrest, okay, everything's going to pop off at its full, full scale, okay? And then what? All right? The rumors of war is going to be over, then it's going to actually pop off over there, okay? So when you keep reading, it says Iran and the United States have engaged in rivaling displays of military strength, leaning into the gunboat diplomacy as nuclear negotiations between two countries remain uncertain. You see that? Because the United States is trying to, negotiate, right, for them to stop their nuclear programs, and Iran ain't hearing it no more, man. All right, as the book of Ecclesiastes says, right, there's a time for war and a time for peace. That time for peace is over. Okay, these nations ain't trying to hear that shit no more. Okay, every time they leave Babylon, right, and the so-called white man in power, all right, same shit happens, right? Put tariffs and them being the hem of the earth, they calling the shots. The people are sick of it, all right. And even though Russia are Edomites, the Lord has put it in their spirit, right? Because a house divided cannot stand, and this is all according to prophecy, right? The Lord's word is like a two-edged sword, so it's going to cut both ways, okay? So it says, Tehran conducted joint exercises with Russia, you see, while the U.S. positioned another aircraft carrier closer to the Middle East. The Iranian military exercise and the approach of the USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier toward the Mediterranean Sea entrance highlight the escalating tensions between the two nations. All right? And you got to understand that Russia got Iran's back, and that's according to prophecy. Okay? So we see what's going on, and things ain't going to get better. All right? Things are not going to get better. Okay? Because the Lord put it in the spirit, for these Russians, right, to just want war. All right? That's it. There ain't gonna be no turning back. Okay? Why? Because the Lord is in control of all this, right? The Lord is the Lord of hosts, right? So, as it reads, right? Matter of fact, let's get that, because a lot of these people in the United States, they think, it's just gonna be another phase, right? It's just gonna be, they're gonna be able to talk it out. There ain't gonna be no talking, right? There ain't gonna be no negotiations. Okay? So let's go real quick to prove that. Right? Let's go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 13. I believe it's 15, right? So like it's 17, right? So Isaiah 13 and 17, it says, Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them. Okay, and the Medes is the Russians. Okay? Which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. You see that? So there ain't gonna be no tariffs, and I'm gonna close your account, and we could make a side deal. Let's have a peace treaty. Okay? They're no longer looking for that. Okay? The Lord, because why? The Lord is stirring them up. All right? The incorruptible spirit of the Lord is in all things, as it says in the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 12, right? Okay? Who has resisted his will, as it says in the book of Romans, chapter 9, right? So this is all the Lord's doing, right? The hearts of the kings are in the Lord's hands, and he turneth them whithersoever he wants, right? As rivers. Okay? So that's it. That's it for you. Your pride has deceived your heart, all right? And this ain't going to be another phase, okay, in your kingdom, all right? This is going to be the next phase for your destruction, right? That's why this is a World War III update, okay? Because nothing but destruction is coming, okay? And the Lord is stirring up these nations to come up against Babylon, right? Let's go to the book of Ezekiel, okay? Show you that Iran and Russia is prophetic, right? Let's go to the book of Ezekiel chapter 38, all right? And we're going to start at the top. It said, And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, right? So this is the Russians, right? Gog is Russia, okay? And the land, same thing, all right? The chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, thus says the Lord, Yahweh, behold, I am against thee, O Gog. You see, so the Lord ain't, just because the Lord is stirring them up to come up against Babylon, it don't mean that he's favoring them. Okay, this is just all according to prophecy. This is the way the Lord wants it. All right, it says the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. You see that? So he's putting that spirit in them to go back into that militant mindset, right? All out war. USSR, okay, the way they used to think, all right? And I will bring thee forth, and all thine armies, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, right? This is why when you look at the reports of Russia, okay, there's so many men enlisted in the military now, okay, leaving their jobs, men that are well established in factories and businesses, leaving their families behind, because the Lord's put in that war spirit in Russia. Okay, and that's a fact. You can go look it up. You can see how much weapons they're producing. Okay, Esau, out here in Babylon want to lie, through his media, all right, and always say that they got this much more aircrafts and this much more tanks and this. That's all a lie. All right, right now Russia is producing more weapons than the United States, and they've already at least tripled, right, their military might as far as soldiers, since they started fighting in Ukraine, right? So it says, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords, all right? And that sword is Esau's blessing, all right? Which today transfers to what? Their guns, their missiles, their tanks, convoys, jets, whatever's a weapon, right? Okay? It says what? Persia. All right? Which Persia is who? Persia's Iran. Okay? Ethiopia and Libya. All right? So the Africans, okay, with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmah of the north quarters and all his bands, and many people with thee. You see? So you're going to have the Turks as well, the Turkish. Okay? And we know that Moab is dibbling and dabbling with them as well. China. Okay? Understand that, this whore has, brought, a list of enemies against them, So that reminds me of like Deuteronomy chapter 30 and 7, where the Lord's going to put the curses on our enemies, right? And remember, when you look at Psalms 83 and 1, we had a laundry list of enemies, okay? But now that shit is turning on them, right? Because they are our arch enemy, okay? Our nemesis, as they would say. All right? So it says what? Be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. You see that? So, you got Israel beefing with Iran. Okay, intentions is rising. You got the United States being nosy. All right, so now you got Russia like, yo, we got your back. Okay, and this is all according to prophecy, you see, from Ezekiel 38 and Jeremiah 49 and 20, where them small hats were going to draw the United States into that conflict. All right, and we seeing it happen. Okay, we seeing it happen. This is all according to prophecy, right? That's what we always say, that prophecy is undefeated, and that's one thing you Christians cannot go into. Okay, that's how we know that the Lord's not dealing with you. All right, why? Because going back to what I brought out in Ezekiel 33 and 33, right? You're going to know there was a prophet among you, okay? Because of the things that were spoken before, all right? And that shall come to pass, all right? So, I got another article, okay? With Iran, right? And, right? And it reads, Iran building missile that can hit U.S. mainland, Trump warns as he tells regime to say the secret words to prevent war. See, now this nigga think like he's in control. He think like, just say the word, like whatever. We're gonna talk to them, gonna make a phone call, everything's gonna be good. Nah, man. You got the wrong line. Okay? We got the direct line to the problem. And your problem is bigger than this world. Your problem is with Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Alright? There ain't gonna be no prevention. Okay? There's not gonna be no negotiations. There ain't gonna be no more peace talks. Alright? From here on, all there is gonna be is tensions rising, right? Until the kettle, right, explodes. Right? So it says, Iran is building a nuclear bomb, you see, that could strike the U.S. Donald Trump has warned as he urges the regime to say the secret words to prevent war. All right? So this is what's going on. All right? And for us that are in the know, for us that are in the inner circle, right, the secret council, we understand perfectly where this is going and what direction it's heading, right? Which is none other than World War III. Okay, there's no turning that around. There's no, there's no disannulling it. Okay, it's not if, it's when, right? So let's get a couple more scriptures, right? Let's go to the book of Joel, chapter 3. And we're going to start at verse 9, right? It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, all right? And this is talking about the real Gentiles, right? Not the Israelite strangers, as it talks about in the New Testament. These are the real Gentiles, okay? Prepare war, wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. See that? Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. So all that agriculture stuff, all right, ain't going to be time to be planting seeds and, investing your money in aluminum and all other things to build your community. No, they're investing in missiles, tanks, right, defense systems, aircraft carriers, all right. This is the times that we in, all right. What it say? Let the weak say, I am strong. You see that? These nations ain't afraid of the United States no more. You got Kim Jong-un over there laughing with his gerbil cheeks, okay? Because he got missiles that could hit America, okay? He no longer possess that button that brings silence to the world, right? So it says, assemble yourselves, right? Come together. And come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about thither. Cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Let the heathen be awakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, right? The valley of the Lord's decision, right? Where he's going to judge them, the valley of the Lord's judgment. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. You see? That's the valley of the Lord's judgment. The valley of Jehoshaphat, right? So, this is what the Lord is preparing. So you see, as these people are not interested no more in deals, not interested in, rebuilding communities and trying to negotiate. And they're like, the hell with it. We're going to go all in, right? Right? We're just going to go all in. We're going to put the chips, all our chips on this hand right here. Okay? So they're building these weapons. They got nuclear missiles, okay? And it's all to destroy, right, America, right? That great destruction that is coming. Okay? So now let's go to the book of 2nd Ezra. All right? Let's go to the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 15, and we're going to start at verse 28. And it says, behold, an horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots. right? And the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. Also the Carmanians, raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood. And who are the Carmanians? All right. Well, let's find out real quick, okay? Let's find out real quick. Right here it says, okay, Carmanians were an ancient Indo-Iranian people inhabiting Carmania, modern-day Kerman province in southeastern Iran. You see that? So the Carmanians are the Iranians. This is the modern-day Carmanians is Iran. Okay? We just needed to establish that so we can fully get the picture of what's going on. Right? So when we go back, it says in verse 30, 2nd Ezra 15 and 30, also the Carmanians raging in wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood. And with great power shall they come, right? Let the weak say I'm strong. And join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. And what's the modern day Assyrians? Right here in Babylon. Okay? Verse 31. And then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature. And we're going to get that, okay? Remembering their nature, because Iran stems out of the loins of Ishmael. All right? And it says, and if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them. You see that? Okay? So this is, like I said, is all according to prophecy. All right? And let's see what is, right, Ishmael's nature that this is talking about. All right? Let's go to the book of Genesis, chapter 16. We're going to start at verse 11. All right? It says, and the angel of the Lord said unto her, okay, behold, right, and this is talking about Hagar, right? And the angel of the Lord said unto her, behold, thou art with child, and shall bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord has heard thy affliction. All right? Salaki, let me get a drink real quick. All right, so I'm going to read that again. Genesis 16 and 11. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, behold, thou art with child, and shall bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord has heard thy affliction. And he will be a wild man. Okay, you see that? That's his nature. He will be a wild man. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. All right? And we know out there in the so-called Middle East, okay, you know, they've been at war forever. Okay? These people are breeded for war. All right? These people, instead of pacifiers and baby bottles and Enfamil, they're given AKs and fed gunpowder. Okay? And I'm just being a little silly with it, but I'm just saying, this is what it is. These kids are born into this madness, all right? And once again, it's all according to prophecy. But just to bring that out, Ishmael is a wild man. So the Carmanians, Iran, right, which were one of the sons of Ishmael, are going to return to that state of mind, right? Against who? Against Esau, Edom, right? Against Babylon, right? And Amalek. Okay? So let's close it out real quick with Book of Revelation. All right. Chapter 11. We're going to go to verse 14. Okay? And it says, the second woe is past, right? That's World War II. World War II passed, right? And behold, the third woe cometh quickly. All right? Again, behold, to look, right? But you gotta look with a prophetic vision. Okay? The third woe cometh quickly. And that's what's fastly approaching. You know? It's all according to prophecy. You know, and we can't you know, as the brothers always say, you know, we can't wait, man. You know, we're sick of being in this place. You know, but we gotta be patient. All right, because it's all according to the Lord's will, according to his time, you know. So we just got to keep pushing this work, keep praying, and keep moving forward and not looking back, right? So, Lord willing, this was edifying. And with that, I'm going to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakak Wadash. I want to give double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone for teaching us this truth. And I want to say shalom to the brothers and sisters that are in this truth. Shalom. Abba Kwam Yasharala. Shalom.